Hey everyone, Meteorologist Lauren Rautenkranz here. We are taking a look at Tropical Storm Eta, which continues to wreak havoc, let's just say, across Central America as it continues to press inland slowly. It's spreading its heavy rain and wind, although it is continuing to weaken, of course, with the mountainous terrain and the land interaction in general. But let's take a look at the National Hurricane Center's forecast because this thing is expected to move back over the Caribbean Sea as we're heading toward Friday and into the weekend. And then it could possibly gain some steam once again with those warm waters pushing across Cuba and then possibly towards South Florida as we head into early next week. So the timing of this can change, all right? So we're going to continue to keep an eye on it, but just know that there's still a wide range of possibilities that can happen. And nonetheless, I think storm or no storm, we're going to see at a minimum heavy rain and wind for the state of Florida, the Bahamas, the Keys, as we are heading into, again, late this weekend and into next week, because it's just going to be a big mess of some unsettled weather. So let's go ahead and actually just look at our top three here at First Coast News. The team continues to update this graphic, and basically we're thinking we've got to get through Friday because that's when the system is expected to regenerate. And then at this point, the timing looks like it moves near South Florida by Monday. And I'm talking about the center of the storm. Nor'easter conditions will develop for us across the Northeast Florida, Southeast Florida coast this weekend. So it's going to be rain, especially along the coast, spreading inland, rough seas, surf, windy into next week. I'll show you the spaghetti plots that we've got in our graphic system, and it shows pretty well what the Hurricane Center is indicating in their cone, kind of this curve to Eta. And the steering currents are really tricky with this, but at this point, we know that it's going to make a move closer to home. It's just if and how strong it is by that point. So if it's holding together, it's going to be something that we're going to have to watch a little bit closer. So our water vapor map shows this big area of moisture that Eta is sitting in. You can see just to the north of it over the Gulf in Florida, we've got that dry air in place. And there's actually going to be another batch of dry air that heads our way and into the Gulf as Eta is making its trek up toward the north. And that's going to have a lot to do with how it develops in the future as well. So quickly, before I get to kind of the nitty gritty on Eta and what I'm thinking, here's your 7-day forecast. So no matter what, it's looking like we're going to see those increased rain chances pretty much starting tomorrow on Thursday into the weekend. And it's going to be rather breezy as well. It's going to be blowing pretty good, especially at the beaches and on the intercoastal. So unfortunate for the boaters like myself who would like to maybe get another weekend out there on the water, but it's just looking like we're going to have those gusts upwards of 30 plus miles per hour. And of course, this is all subject to change based on what happens specifically with Eta. So again, here's that satellite and radar imagery. You can see it's just kind of a mess of a system, very broad at this point. And actually, it's expected to continue to stay fairly broad as far as the circulation goes as it is moving back onto the Caribbean. So let's take a look at where the GFS kind of pinpoints this system. So this is tomorrow, Thursday morning. And then as we head toward Friday, there's going to be kind of these two areas of lows. One with the center of Eta and then kind of another piece of energy that gets pushed off into the Pacific. And you can see it's going to be rather broad, all right? So it's not going to be like it gets over the Caribbean and it snaps back to hurricane status. It is expected to just remain a tropical storm. And also this dark brown coloring is the dry air. This is the moisture that we're looking at with Eta at this point. So it continues to get pulled up toward the north just slowly. All right, this is into Saturday morning. And so remember that dry air that we had in place right now. Well, by Saturday morning, a second wave of dry air is going to move in with our next front that's going to be approaching across the U.S. And when we've got these storms sitting in this area with one of these troughs, we call it, coming our way, it's going to have southwesterly shear. So that's going to, of course, not be good for the development of this system. Not only that, the air that's coming from the west is really going to be dry. And so this dry air is going to get entrenched in this circulation of Eta. So that could inhibit development as well. So as we head throughout the weekend, it's going to be really interesting to see how much dry air impacts Eta's development. If it's able to stay farther toward the east in this more moist pocket, it'll have a better chance of surviving and becoming more of a stronger system, let's just say. And then as it heads into early next week, it does look like the models are continuing to kind of pull it back toward the northwest in a sense, because it's getting picked up by that trough, and then it'll get swept back out toward the east. So kind of doing this curvy motion. It is just very bizarre looking, of course. And the latest GFS, it holds it together as a tropical storm, maybe a low-grade Cat 1. But then you can see by next weekend, we've got this trough that finally begins to help wash this whole unsettled pattern out of our area. So definitely impacts to Cuba, the Bahamas, and the Keys and South Florida. Just how much of an impact do we see here in Northeast Florida? Another thing that I'm actually watching is the position and the strength of this high pressure system that we've now got overhead, helping to keep us beautiful this week. But this high pressure system is really going to help to keep this pattern kind of stagnant, let's just say. So it's not going, we've got to watch this high pressure system jut out toward the east before we can watch this trough move through and kick Eta out of here. So that's why it's really going to be a longer lasting system, kind of just hanging around. And you can see, by the time we head toward early next week into Wednesday even, this is what it's showing, just a little pocket of moisture with all this dry air around it. So Eta is going to have to really either be tightly compact to kind of keep its act together. If it, has a wonky looking eye, it's going to get that dry air into the center, and that's not going to be good for the development. So as of the latest Hurricane Center advisory, the winds, of course, are decreasing, but it's over land, and so it's going to continue to produce the life-threatening flooding, flash flooding in fact, because of those mountainous terrain. And we've got those tropical storm warnings in place for Nicaragua and Honduras, but again, no others in place at this point. The wind, the rain for portions of Central America, but then the Hurricane Center is already pinpointing the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, southern Haiti. So we're going to have to watch that as this storm moves on up toward the north. Another thing I'll show you is the Weather Prediction Center's map. I like it because it shows kind of a general sense of what we're thinking here. So as we head toward, we're already starting to see it here. So here's the high pressure system. There are the isobars showing our easterly flow. And that's going to help to enhance the moisture, right, as we head throughout the week. So coastal shower is going to be a possibility into the weekend no matter what. But once we watch Eta kind of head up, right, toward the Keys, that's when we're going to see where exactly it is, the strength of it, and then there's this trough or this cold front that I was talking about. This is going to be the kicker to help get Eta eventually out here. So it comes up this way, curves out toward the trough to get pulled kind of like a magnet toward this trough, because these low pressure systems like to slide along these fronts. And then as this moves closer, Eta will get shifted out possibly across the Big Bend of Florida, up into southeast Georgia, the coastal Carolinas. We'll see. It depends. Of course, still a lot of question marks, but here's a good map to kind of show what I'm talking about here. And so, the black line is the average of all of these. And I know initially South Florida was pretty much smack dab in the cone. And again, now it's the center of Eta is kind of moving out toward the west a little bit more, which is what I would kind of expect with the timing of the front currently. But again, if that slows down, if it's not as strong, if high pressure leaves us alone a little bit, this will be able to kind of push out toward the east a little bit more. And then in fact, I do think, again, let me go back to my relative humidity map. I do think if Eta is able to sneak around toward the Bahamas a little bit more, it would be a stronger system because it would be wrapped around in more of a conducive environment rather than getting wrapped up in this dry air sooner. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is the intensity forecast. And this is, a good map to show the fact that a lot of these computer models are keeping it mostly at a tropical storm status, some of them not even holding it tropical storm status, again, as we head into the next several days. A lot of question marks. We will continue to watch it. And make sure to stay tuned to your First Coast News weather team. We've got you covered always on air, online. Of course, that First Coast News Weather Watchers Facebook group where I will post this video. And hang in there, folks. Hurricane season is not over quite yet.